Hi, gang. Hey, I have lots of important things to tell you today, even more so than normal, and something that I'm excited to share. First, let me thank my friends at Play Gun Lake Online Casino and Sportsbook app. Join me and check it out. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moment. It's the anticipation of that face card, the thrill of an extra spin, the pure joy of a jackpot. Lots of new hot slots, plus all your favorite casino games. It's easier than ever to get in on the action. You can get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Play Gun Lake, the only app that I ever use and recommend in the great state of Michigan. It allows you to get some skin in the game and bet sports or play blackjack, craps, poker, roulette, hot online slots, all while watching the game. Make your downtime fun time. You can double down with a live dealer. Try that. That's a really cool experience for all the action and excitement that you'll get on the casino floor, except now it's at your fingertips. New users get $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. That casino bonus has to be wagered. PlayGunLake.com. PlayGunLake.com has all the details. Play for the glory, play for the money. Play Gun Lake Casino. You've got to be 21 and in Michigan for the Play Gun Lake Online Casino and Sportsbook app. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, my friends, today the date is March 8th. 2025. On March the 8th of 2014, on March the 8th of 2014, at this precise moment in time, I was awfully nervous. Today's my anniversary day at CNN. It was 11 years ago today that I began on CNN. And I remember being so excited. I remember being so nervous. I remain so grateful to Jeff Zucker, who was the president of CNN at the time, and you know that I'd labored for a while. Actually, I had been a thank you for that, Jay, Cynthia, Robin, Jamal, Michelle. Yeah, thank you, gang. And from north of the 49th, Derek. Yeah, thank you to all of you. Thank you. I appreciate all of you. Robert Tripp, thank you, gang. Yeah. Buzzkill in there, sourpuss. Some people are just unbelievable. Anyway, I had in the television realm, in the cable television realm, I was really never much of a player at Fox News other than being an occasional guest of Bill O'Reilly, Neil Cavuto, Hannity Radio, Hannity Television, probably. I don't remember. But it was CNN where I began. It was CNN where I began, and I began as a guest doing appearances on Talkback Live, which was in the afternoon. And Arthel Neville, who now is at Fox, I just saw her a week or so ago. She was hosting a live show from Atlanta, and that was really where I made my cable debut. And then CNN worked me into a routine where they would use me for legal commentary. At the time, I was practicing law full time. And they shot a pilot or two with me. They didn't go anywhere. After that, MSNBC came calling. I did work for MSNBC as Chris Matthews' principal fill-in. Did that for 5 years and now really wanted a program. Jeff Zucker had become the president of CNN. And he was the one who brought me aboard. And I'll never forget it. And it was the deal was cut in a meeting that was less than 15 minutes long. I'll never forget it. He said to me, and by the way, thank you to my friends at Parks Casino. I tell the full version in like 15 minutes of my radio start. I tell the full version in the night of cigars and stories with Smerconish at Parks. And we have released so far on my YouTube page, right here on my YouTube page, 2 of the stories that I told so far. One is titled The Real Story of How I Began in Radio, The Real Story of How I Began in Television. But we are going to post within a couple of days the long version of what I'm telling you now, which includes a part I've never publicly revealed. That's really interesting. But yeah, it was 11 years ago today, and this you've heard me perhaps remind you of. I was in New York City when I woke up very early, had a tough time sleeping because I was so excited about it. There was just a brief mention of an airplane that radar had lost track of. And as a result, we had to make a decision as to whether we were going to carry that story. We didn't. And then for the next 6 months, that story dominated everything that I did on CNN. It was MH370. Yeah, it went down on this day 11 years ago. But here I am. Same time slot, same bat time, same bat station. In this tumultuous business, there's a lot to be said for that. So thank you. And it's also a reminder that if this is my 11th anniversary on CNN today, it means that on tax day in a month, it will be anniversary number 12 at SiriusXM. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that as well. Okay. Many people are offering opinions as to what plagues the Democrats in terms of not being able to get their act together and be uniform in opposition to President Trump. And the poll question today at Smerconish.com asks, where do Democrats most need to improve their game? Do they need to improve their game on issues, on messaging, or leadership? And you're forced to pick one of the three where they need to up their game. And to the extent that others have commented on what ails them, today I get my turn on television. For example, Peggy Noonan, from the Wall Street Journal. Democrats look like fools Tuesday night. We don't need to dwell on how they sat grim-faced, seething, or walked out while the president spoke. One stood, yelled, brandished his cane, removed by the sergeant of arms. They look like the green room from hell, she says. And then further along, Peggy Noonan. By the way, Peggy Noonan, former Reagan speechwriter, what does she care? She thinks that the nation is well served when we have two robust parties. And I agree with her. And she says, Democrats have to understand where they are. They have completely lost their reputation as the party of the working man. And that's what I want to address. I want to address in my commentary today the secret sauce that Trump has. And by the way, I'm going to tell you right up front, and I'm going to say this on television, spare me your texts and tweets and social media reaction telling me that I'm normalizing Trump or that I'm overlooking his threat to democracy or the risk that he presents right now as he dismantles government. I'm not addressing any of that. We talk about that every day. I want to talk about something that I think Democrats, and this is the week to talk about it, that Democrats completely miss. They completely miss. Let me ask you something. Let's see if you can figure out where I'm going to go with today's commentary. If I talk about pennies, if I talk about paper straws, if I talk about the NFL kickoff rule, if I talk about water pressure in toilets and shower heads, does it remind you of anything? Does it remind you of anything in a cultural realm? Aren't each of those nothing subjects? And yet, as they are each nothing subjects, aren't they each subjects about which each of us has an opinion, none of them predicated on whether you're left or right, Republican or Democratic? It's the everyday stuff of life. It's the everyday stuff of life, like waiting for a table in a restaurant, or dating issues, like deciding, is it okay to break up with somebody because of the way they eat their peas? Or should the size of one's hands be a factor when you're dating, or dry cleaning, or finding a parking space, or returning a library book? That's a little different. How about low talkers? Am I reminding you of anything? Your comments are tearing past. So bad haircuts, toilet paper shortages, right? What am I talking about? He's a master of this in the same way that Larry David from Curb, yes, and Seinfeld was able to build a whole show or shows. I mean, they even talked about it in season 4 when Jerry and George are at Monk's Cafe, and it was an inside joke because it was a show within a show. They were going to go to NBC, and what was the show going to be about? The show was going to be about nothing. Trump has a knack for identifying the nothings that matter. No, I'm not normalizing him. No, I'm not explaining it away. I'm just trying to give you an insight into what he does well as a politician. And the question that I ask is, what is the Democrats' response? What is their nothing? What is the one thing that any Democratic leader has recently said that caused you to say, yeah, there's truth in that? Yeah, that NFL kickoff, that is weird. Yeah, I don't want to walk around with pennies. Yeah, I think that Harry probably has his hands full with Meghan. And that shower head is not what it used to be. The toilet pressure, it's true, that toilet pressure. I could give you 50 of these. And the funny thing is, and I'm going to draw on some data and insight in my commentary today from Charles Murray. Tuesday night, is the launch of my Mingle movie, which is my presentation where in an hour and 10 minutes, I try and speak to societal disconnect and explain to people how polarization and technology have driven us apart from one another in a way that it really imperils our political system, and we need to find ways in which people from disparate backgrounds can spend time with one another to mingle. So we will mingle Tuesday night. But in the Mingle speech, in talking about the disconnect from the new upper class in this country, I draw on Charles Murray, Dr. Charles Murray. Now he's at American Enterprise Institute. He wrote a book called Coming Apart. And he talks about how some who have done better financially end up living in the Belmont, Massachusetts of our country as compared to those of the Fishtown or Kensington of our society. And the two just don't cross-pollinate and cut off those who live in Fishtown or Kensington from an opportunity to associate with and get a leg up by knowing the people who are better off. And in the presentation Tuesday night, I rely on a quiz that Dr. Murray developed. And I'm going to raise some of those points in my commentary today with regard to Donald Trump. Some of the questions that Murray puts forth, trying to show people the divide, the bubble existence with which they now live. A couple of off the cuffers. Have you ever hitchhiked? Have you ever taken a long distance bus trip? How often do you eat at Denny's or IHOP? Have you ever watched an episode of Dr. Phil all the way through? You go fishing? Do you go camping? The questions are all designed. If you had yes answers, then your bubble is thin. But the quiz is designed to show people how detached they've come from working class America. Now, here's the kicker. I'm doing the weave, but now I'm going to bring it all together. Trump does the weave, but he doesn't bring it all together. Michael, what are you talking about? Camping, fishing, bus, pickup truck, bus trip, hitchhiking. Those are all a part of middle-class America. I can answer yes to all of them. I don't think that Donald Trump can answer yes to any of them. And yet, he gets people. He gets people. He gets people in a way that Joe Biden did not, that Kamala Harris did not, that none of the Democratic leadership does. So I'm not excusing any of the haphazard, the contradictory, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off. Cutting out the rug from underneath Zelensky is horrible. I'm not defending any of it. but I am going to try and explain in my commentary today, frankly, as I've just done with you, wherein lies his, he called himself a stable genius. He's not a stable genius, but he's got some political genius that Democrats don't have. And that was on full display this week. When they're holding up paddles and they're wearing different clothes and shaking a cane, they don't have a clue how to deal with him. They need to find their Seinfeld issue, some way to establish rapport with normal Americans. And finally, I say, yada, yada, yada. See you, gang. I'll see you on television soon. Tuesday night. Like and subscribe. Set yourself up for notifications. Thank you. I know some of you have been watching all 11 years on CNN. I really appreciate it. Thank you.